Hi guys, this is GSMDome.com and I'm here with the Motorola Moto G75 5G for a full review. We're dealing with a special phone on account of the fact that it's very resilient. It's military certified. It can take corrosion, dust, water, extreme temperatures and humidity. And also it's got an LCD screen, which has to be a compromise in order to keep the price low. Now, aside from that, the phone also comes with a special flicker sensor at the back side, aside from the Sony Lytia 650 megapixel camera. And also we have a Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor inside. It's a 4nm chip, which is superior to the one of the Moto G85. We also have Smart Connect for productivity, and the front camera does 4K selfie videos. Now, the price is around $300 and it's time for the review. As far as the design is concerned, I would say it's a well-balanced build here. The phone measures 8.3 mm in thickness and weighs 205 or 208 grams depending on the version you buy. Our black version has a plastic black and plastic frame. If you're buying the other versions with other colors, you're going to get silicone polymer or eco leather at the back side. So the front side is protected with Gorilla Glass 5. The bezels are, I would say, mid-level, not the thickest but also not the slimmest, and the back side doesn't draw many fingerprints. It's matte, and even if you draw fingerprints they disappear fast. We also have a case in the box, and I like the sloped approach for the camera, which we saw on some Oppo phones. This Motorola Moto G75 5G has IP68 certification. You can sink it up to 1.5 meters in water for 30 minutes. The military certification, military standard 810H, means that it can take extreme conditions from very high temperatures, humidity, shocks, vibrations, and fine particle exposure. Plus, salty areas will lend to corrosion, but not here. It's also available in aqua blue and succulent green. Pretty ergonomic thanks to the flat frame. Now we're done with the design. We can talk about the screen, and when we talk about the screen we usually rely on a video to actually demonstrate what the panel can do. Now, after so many Motorola phones which are cheap and have OLED screens, we have here an LCD 6.78-inch LCD display with a resolution of 2388 over 1080 pixels, 120 Hz refresh rate, and up to 1000 nits of brightness. Now, the view angles are wide, but not as wide as the AMOLEDs. The brightness is fine, but I would say if there's a very powerful sun outside, the contrast will not be as impressive. And the color palette is not as large as an AMOLED, but still, the colors are pretty realistic, not very vibrant as the OLEDs are. All in all, it's a decent screen for the price, but sometime, a few years ago, Motorola promised to put OLEDs on all the phones, no matter the price, and this one, well, it doesn't have one. Okay, now as far as the screen behavior is concerned, we use the lux meter and we measured 563 lux units. I would say it's okay, but we've gotten accustomed to seeing even cheaper phones with 800 lux at least. Now, aside from that, you can see that it's in the ballpark of the Galaxy S21, and I should probably also mention that it's above the Realme C55 and the Oppo A98, but below the Moto G85, Galaxy A34 and Galaxy A54. Now, when it comes to the innards of the phone, we have this app here covering everything. So it comes with a Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor. It's a 4nm chip, octa-core, not to be confused with the Snapdragon 6S Gen 3, which has 6nm and can be found on the Moto G85. Now, aside from that, we also get 8 gigs of RAM, LPDDR4X, and also 256 GB of storage, UFS 2.2. We also have a microSD card slot in here next to the nano SIM. Now, the phone transitions pretty fast between apps, runs games pretty fine, such as Asphalt Legends, but you can also run Call of Duty on it or Diablo Immortal with, I would say, lesser graphics compared to higher end phones. It doesn't overheat, and the good news is that in benchmarks, it does decently. For example, it doesn't suffer from throttling. It loses only 8% performance after 15 minutes, which is quite impressive. Now, when it comes to the Antutu 10 benchmark, here we are, just above the Motorola H40 Neo and the Oppo Reno 10. We're below the Honor Magic 7 Lite and Galaxy A35. When it comes to Geekbench 6 in the multi-core subtest, we're just above Galaxy A35 and Redmi Note 14 Pro, recently tested by us, but at the same time we also scored below the Motorola H50, H50 Fusion, OnePlus Nord 3 and the Honor 200. Now, GPU wise, the expectations are kept pretty low and we're around the same area as the Motorola H50 Fusion, as you can see for yourself. The fact we surpassed Oppo Reno 12 Pro is good news, but in general we were below Redmi Note 14 Pro and Oppo Reno 12 Pro. So it basically can fight all the hit mid-range phones from 2024. Now, temperature-wise, I didn't register any sort of overheating. So if you go here, only 27 degrees Celsius when running benchmark. So zero problems with overheating. When it comes to the battery, we have a 5000 mAh unit, lithium polymer like the predecessor G73. There was no G74, by the way, and it charges at 30 watts via wire. There's no charger in the box, and we do have a novelty 15-watt wireless charging. We're promised to reach 50% in 25 minutes when it comes to the charging, and let's see how we did. When it comes to the video playback, we achieved 16 hours and 55 minutes. I would say it's not bad, but recently we've found ourselves surpassing 20 hours very often. It's better than the Motorola H40 Neo, Realme C55, but also it's above the predecessor G73. It's a few hours, plenty of hours, below Galaxy A53, Moto G54, Galaxy A54. When it comes to continuous usage, we have a pretty satisfying 11 hours and 57 minutes in the PC Mark benchmark, which, by the way, the predecessor had 10 hours and 25 minutes, so we surpassed that one. We also beat the Motorola H50 Fusion, Honor 200 Pro, and the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus 5G. We scored below the recently tested Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G, Honor Magic 6 Lite, and 7 Lite. A full charge requires 1 hour and 16 minutes, which is quite long, but after 30 minutes you're at 60%, which for me is satisfying. When it comes to acoustics, you have one speaker here and the other one is here in the earpiece, which is very narrow. We have a lot of tweaks and tunings to perform here, courtesy of the Dolby Atmos section here. Spatial audio, smart audio, music, movie, game, podcast, and a few equalizer settings as well, which are pretty cool. I'm going to leave it to smart audio and get a taste of what the smartphone can offer when it comes to the, well, acoustics. Okay, so it's the button speaker doing the heavy lifting, not the top one. I expected a bit more bass here. The volume is decent, the high notes were fine. If you're listening to songs with guitar, you'll be very satisfied by the voice and the guitar. If you're listening to metal, there may be some distortion at top volume, but the voices are the ones highlighted here, at least for me. When it comes to the volume power, we achieved 83.4 decibels at the top and at the bottom 90.4. Quite a difference. This is with an acoustic sample test, where top 50 here, top 60 with the bottom speaker. So it's louder than the Moto G73. It's also above the Realme 12 Pro Plus and Honor Magic 7 Lite. Below Realme C55 and Huawei Nova 13 Pro. When it comes to multimedia, which we used Asphalt Legends, the game here, we achieved 97.2 decibels, which means not bad, but also not a record. It's below Honor Magic 7 Lite and exactly the equal of the predecessor Moto G73, if you can believe it. It also beats the Samsung Galaxy A35. And now let's talk about the camera. So when it comes to the selfie camera, we have one cut in the screen here. It's a 16 megapixel shooter with a 4K filming, which is a pretty good attribute. At the back side, we have a main 50 megapixel camera with Sony Lytia 600 sensor, also optical image stabilization, f1.8 aperture. There's also an ultra wide 8 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture and 190 degrees and autofocus for your macro needs. This is the flicker sensor, which gets rid of the flicker when you're filming, well, light sources, you know, those annoying stripes of light that appear in artificial lighting, they're gone. Now, this is the LED flash, and you pretty much saw the camera interface in the unboxing, so I will not insist too much on it. We're going to skip straight to the photos because we have quite a few of them here. Let's go to collections and let's go to camera, 206 items, quite a few. Okay, so one of the first things that made an impact on me was the zoom. Even though we don't have lossless zoom or crop or anything like that, I was impressed by this church here. This is the actual distance, and this is where we start zooming in. This is 2x, 3x, this is 5x, and the details remain quite decent on this church. The same applies to this bell here, regular distance, 2x, 3x, and yeah, I can see the details on it clearly, and we don't lose too many details here. Getting up close here allows us to photograph very nicely a bunch of plants, even though it's still the winter. You will not be able to get as close as you'd want with a macro, but still very close close-ups are fine. The only problems with the colors is that the main camera captures a lot of light and may drown the image in white. That doesn't happen very often. This is the ultra wide camera. You're losing details on the side and there's a slight curvature as expected from an 8 megapixel ultra wide shooter. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the colors, even though the color palette isn't very high here, isn't very detailed. Very lovely colors, but I would say too saturated on the ultra wide. Here they're quite okay, the reds particularly, but here they're exaggerated, they're overblown and oversaturated. Happens in all of these shots where we take a regular shot and then we can take the same shot in an ultra wide manner. There's a difference here between colors. This is one red and this is a completely different red, much warmer and much more saturated. Good focus on close-ups again. And the selfies were quite surprising. Even though the camera combines 4 pixels in one and outputs 4 megapixel shots, I see a lot of details here. You can tell each beard hair and each hair on your head, plus excellent texture for the scarf. I actually didn't expect this, or I actually expected this because I saw Motorola phones delivering in this area before. Good focus once again on this object and good contours of objects in general. And even more selfies here, this time with a hat. The bokeh cut everything around me in a perfect manner. No complaints here. And once again, we're playing with the colors. Okay, and then we changed the park with another one. This is one of the closest close-ups I took, and I'm actually impressed here by the focus. So you can take nice close-ups of food or what have you. And here I saw some moss on a tree, and this was as close as I got, which is actually not bad. It's postable on social media. So all in all, a pretty decent experience, not very far from what you get from pretty much 70% of the Motorola H50 series, regular H50, H50 Fusion, H50 Neo. Well, I would say that the main camera is pretty similar to what you're going to get there, and the colors are satisfying enough, even though you should beware of the oversaturated colors from the ultra wide shots. Now we're moving on to the nighttime scenario. It's a mid-range phone. It comes with the territory that there will be some drawbacks. The ultra wide is very much unusable at night, so maybe skip it unless it's something important. And the night mode pretty much delivers, luckily, when it comes to the texture and clarity of objects. Otherwise, you'll not be very impressed by the shots. I was actually impressed by the selfies that use the screen as a sort of flash, making everything white. The eyes may look weird because of the fact that I was squinting, because the screen becomes very, very bright. Quite good shot of this statue here. Even though it was nighttime, it appears very clear. And all in all, when using night mode, you'd think that some of these shots are taken by a flagship. That's how detailed and clear they are, and colors are pretty nice. And some of the best shots I've taken are of this periscope on the edge of the lake. They're very crisp and clear and very well focused, which for a mid-range phone is a big deal. And some light sources here, captured in the park as well. Believe it or not, even the ultra-wide delivered, even though, as I mentioned before, the ultra-wide tends to under-deliver and make things not as detailed when it comes to the low-light shots in particular. Okay, so these have been the photos. Now let's check out some videos. I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit because it was a pretty windy day. So first things first, I would say that we have this test here. It's a panning test with a lot of colors. Okay, so the stabilization tries to compensate too much, and if you watch this on a large screen, you'll see there's a constant wobble. The image feels like it's on a boat. That's what I keep saying. So that wobble is annoying. It's really trying to compensate a lot with the stabilization. Here we have a zoom test, which is nothing to write home about. 2x is fine. Anything past that is, well, it tells you that the phone is cheaper than your average $500, $600 phone. Here we have more colors. Pretty well rendered and pretty well separated. I actually like the color palette here. Some would say it's duller, but I would prefer it to oversaturation and also overexposure, so none of that. We also have a selfie video. This one is taken with a special stabilization mode on, and it's quite effective. And we also have a second selfie video, this one here, without the special stabilization mode, and you can tell because the image is more jumpy. Quite a wide frame behind me, and quite well detailed, the background behind me. So when it comes to selfie vlogs, you'll be happy with the results. Of course, we also did a test which involves the focus. This is the focus test, focusing on a foreground and a background on an object, and then on the background. Very fast focus alternation, as you can see. And obviously the stabilization test, it wouldn't be the same without it. So we have this one here. It's very choppy, and you can tell the stabilization is off. You can tell I'm stepping left, right, left, right, left, right, descending some stairs. And then very same scenario, this time with stabilization on. You can see that the image is much smoother. But there's once again a slight vibration of the image. Now instead of the wobble, it gets an effect like the lens was vibrating. That's what it feels like. There's no longer the motion of the feet. You cannot feel left, right, but the image once again vibrates as if it was trying too much to overcompensate. Okay, so that's video for you during the day. Clarity fine, 4K details, colors, all that, but the stabilization has some problems. And this is the low light capture. I mean, I don't see any flicker or problem, and the street lights are a bit overblown at times, especially when it comes to the headlights of the cars coming towards me. But at least there's no flicker. It's nothing special, it's just okay. I mean, there's nothing to complain about if that's what you're asking. It's a regular basic mid-range phone filming with some bigger halos every once in a while. At least it's 4K, and I think some of the shots here are actually usable for vlogs. Okay, that's it camera-wise. Let's talk about connectivity and software. When it comes to the connectivity, it's in the phone's name, the fact that it supports 5G connectivity, and we also have a nano SIM card slot and Wi-Fi 6E, which is a surprise, in 3 bands even. It gets Bluetooth 5.4, it also gets GPS, Galileo, GLONASS, BDS and QZSS. We have NFC here and an USB-C 2.0 port at the bottom side. Now, the calls are pretty loud and clear from the speaker at the top side, and for the speed, we have speed test here, which we actually use to do a bunch of tests. So, okay, these are the results we achieved, which are not half bad. First of all, when it comes to the 5G test, we tested the network Orange, and we achieved 641 megapsecond downloads, 45 megapsecond uploads. Now, when it comes to the Wi-Fi, we achieved 647 megapsecond downloads and 797 megapsecond uploads. I would say we're doing fine for a mid-range phone. When it comes to the software, this is Android 14, but you get 5 years of Android updates, 6 years of security updates. We're going to get Android 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. From the moment I took the phone out of the box till now, I actually got 3 updates, 3 smaller updates. You can use swipe navigation, you can also use the gestures here. This is the drop-down section, and it's generally a stock experience. For security, we have a fingerprint scanner in the side power button, which I just used. And of course, Motorola customized the experience with its very own application. The Moto app, you can personalize the experience here with themes, fonts, icon shapes, colors, things for the lock screen, like clocks and shortcuts and more, display size, layout, sound, and dark mode. Then you have the gestures used to activate a series of applications and features. You can see them here. Then we have tips, discover how to use your phone, what's new in Android 14. Moto Secure is here as well, with a special secure folder, with protection from online scammers, locking the network, pin pad scramble, and more. Of course, display features, lock screen and attentive display, and of course the fun area, you already saw Dolby Atmos. This is the gaming department. You actually have your games, you have your settings for your games, performance, refresh rate, resolution, do not disturb, even recording and things like that. There's also a sidebar which appears when you start the game. So you start the game here, this is Moto Game Time, these are the features it triggers, this is the toolkit, the frequency, RAM, frames per second, and so forth. You also have family space, you can create a profile here for your grandpa or for the grandkid. Parental control, see them on the map in case they're feeling sick or skipping school. You also have Moto Unplugged. If you want to do a digital detox, you go here, you just leave on the texts, camera, and calls. And finally, productivity, Smart Connect. Smart Connect lets you connect via Miracast to a TV or a monitor and use the phone as a trackpad and more. And here you have the core features. You can stream apps to your PC. You can also turn your PC into a mobile desktop using the phone. You can have your phone mirrored on the PC, use it as a webcam, as a hotspot, share files between the smartphone and the laptop, lock your PC with the phone, share a clipboard, or even a cursor between a tablet, a PC, and said phone. That's about it. This comes from Lenovo. It's a pretty cool technology. It's the, I would say, successor of Ready 4. Well, this is pretty much it as far as the smartphone is concerned, and I think it's time to discuss the verdict, pros and cons. I'm going to start with the pros. There's a robust body here, military and IP certified, resilient to humidity and corrosion. It's very easy to handle and pretty ergonomic, if you ask me. And at the same time, it has a reasonable battery life. I would also mention that the high notes are quite fine when it comes to the music, fast 5G and Wi-Fi, pretty nice macro and selfie shots, good stabilization when filming while walking, fast focus, pretty decent night modes, productivity features for Smart Connect, Dolby Atmos tuning and gaming tuning with those settings, 5 years of Android updates, no throttling, no overheating, okay performance, surprisingly good selfies even at 4 megapixels, and the microSD card slot. But when it comes to the cons, I would say we don't have a charger in the box, the speaker don't have much bass, the stabilization has that annoying effect as if you're on a boat or it's pulling the image too much, the ultra-wide camera is below expectations, the GPU is not exactly future-proof according to 3D Mark, the LCD screen feels like a letdown compared to the promise that Motorola made. An OLED would have been nice, and I actually wanted more battery life, even the one from here is satisfying. I actually wanted a bit more. So the idea is that this one feels like a light version of the Motorola Edge 50 series. The screen is now beefier when it comes to its edges, as you can see for yourself here, and I would say that the drawing points here are the 5 years of Android updates as well as the resilience of the body. That's what you're getting here at its core. Pretty much the same main camera as the Motorola Edge 50 series, and I would say it's for the elderly public maybe. It doesn't have AI as some other phones which are bragging about it, which is not a problem. The screen is an LCD which may turn off some of the youngsters, so it may be a phone for the elderly to use during a commute. That's the idea. But the price needs to drop closer to $250 or $200 if this wants to become a hit. That's it from GSMDome.com. Goodbye.